Hi friends, I am Sunique, welcome to my channel, and this is the latest video in my Decan walk. Today I'm looking at the Three of Swords, which runs from the 3rd till the 12th of October, which is today. The associated major cards, astrologically, that the Golden Dawn assigned to the Three of Swords are Justice and the World. And Justice is Libra, and the World is Saturn, which is a planetary ruler. The crystals assigned to these cards from the Crystal Magic Tarot, which is the tarot deck that I always use for these Decans. We have some lovely turquoise here for the World card. You can see that. Nice piece. Then we have for Justice, Sapphire, which I showed before my ring. Sapphire is quite an expensive gem, but I do have a blue sapphire ring. For the Three of Swords, it's Shungite, and I don't believe I've got any, but I've looked at it on the internet and it looks a lot like the volcanic glass that we looked at last time. Obsidian, black obsidian. So I'm going to presume, I actually haven't looked it up, but I'm going to presume that it's a protective stone. But we'll look at that later. Look at the associated crystals later. Okay. For now, let's look at the astrological associations. So, as I said, for the World we have Saturn, the planetary ruler, and we have Libra for Justice, which is the zodiacal element attached to this time of year. We'll have a look with Barbieri's Zodiac Oracle. This is Barbara Moore has written the text here, and the artwork Paolo Barbieri, one of my favourite artists. So if we have a quick look, I'm not going to go too far into this because actually the guidebook doesn't go too far into this, but I thought I brought out the cards Libra, Air for the Swords, and Saturn as the ruling planet. Saturn is really important in this Decan because Saturn is not only the planet that is associated with the World card, it's also associated with Bina on the Tree of Life, which is associated with all the threes in the tarot. And I'll talk about that a little bit in a sec. First of all, let's just stay on these. So for air, which I think is really apt for this card, it says crisp, ethereal and decisive. The energy of air fuels the winds of truth and whispers grand insights. Clarity and truth are supported by rationality, reason, common sense and logic. Air energy breaks stalemates and stagnation through wise decision-making and mutual understanding. Bring the quality of air to a situation by seeing things as clearly and objectively as possible. Focus on the facts and not the stories we attach to the facts. Truth, calm communication, comprehending the points of views of others and promoting understanding on all sides. And that, for my mind, is really good advice in dealing with the energy of the Three of Swords. I think that's a way of coming to terms with the Three of Swords. Libra is a cardinal air sign, and this actually runs from September the 23rd to October the 22nd, so it's the 2, 3 and 4 of Swords. It says the discerning energy of air takes on, so we've got air, takes on the cardinal solve it quality and encourages identifying and solving problems. So we've got the heads together there, putting their heads together to solve a problem. I think that's really cool. The key phrase, I balance, so we've got the balance scales here, means that fairness, justice, so yeah, justice card, and everyone getting along are the primary motivational drives. In this situation, ask, how can I manifest fair and stable balance? Ideals are beautiful things and very good guides. Ideals are great guiding stars and the desire for fairness commendable. However, in the real world, ideals rarely exist in pristine form and justice elusive. At some point, decisions need to be made. Avoid indecisiveness. So that's the advice there. And then Saturn. Oh, well, Saturn has, it's exalted in Libra. And as I said, it's also connected to Benar. And that means it's given a lot of power in this decan and a lot of influence. So it's worth looking at the attributes of Saturn. It's associated with the Roman god Saturn. Sometimes Father Time, Cronus, which, I mean, I have spoken about this before in other cards. But Saturn is often called the hard taskmaster, probably because Saturn pushes us to feel ambition, to set and achieve goals, and create secure lives. When we undertake these tasks, we usually learn important lessons through facing challenges. Yes, learning important lessons through facing challenges, and this is indeed a challenging card. And so our world in the Three of Swords is actually shattered, and we need to learn how to grow from that. Now 3 is all about creativity, isn't it, the number 3? And it's also associated with, as I said, Benar. Okay, I will show you Benar on the Tree of Life from one of my newest decks, one that I have actually done a recent walkthrough of. And here's Benar. Beautiful. So we have Saturn here in the glyph, but what we've got duality here, which sort of echoes justice, doesn't it? You know, the balance of black and white here. We've got water, there's glyph here for water, and Benar is the sea of understanding, the divine feminine, silence and awareness. Benar is the great mother on the Tree of Life, so sits here, right there, and looks down on the rest of the tree, and is in the path of severity. So this is the pillar of severity, and if you look, I hope this is picking up with this light, but we have a sword in hand here. So doesn't that really echo the swords in the Three of Swords? And it's in the spiritual triangle of divinity, creation and manifestation. So there you go, the creative aspect of the 3. Okay, we have a quick look at Benar in the book. There we see the Tree of Life and Benar sat there. Also linked to the Empress, notice. Number 3 on the Tree of Life, Benar is located at the top of the pillar of severity, a place that offers her a view of the whole tree, where she sits not in judgment, but in understanding, seeing all. Saturn is her planet, a planet of form, of control, time and karma. Her role is to bring the worlds of energy into form, to give structure to the chaos and to be the support for those seeking divine feminine wisdom. However, there's a dark side to Benar. If we think of a mother energy as being creative with the number 3, then obviously we're going to think of giving birth, aren't we? But what do we give birth to? You know, the egg in the womb. What's in the egg in the womb? What's in that boundary? An egg has a boundary, doesn't it, to keep it safe in the womb. And we've got a boundary here on the world card assigned to Saturn. So that's an interesting way of looking at things. Well, Crowley has a lot to say. Aleister Crowley. He says the womb of chaos. Now, the womb of chaos, according to Aleister Crowley, has a passion to create, but its children are monsters. Now then, I have just finished watching a dramatisation about Jimmy Savile, and this reminded me of this energy of these cards here. Very difficult subject this, but I am going to delve into it a little bit, okay, because I think it has a relevance to these cards, and it's strange how it's all being highlighted right now. If we look at the Thoth card, we see a sword penetrating, with the help of two other swords, a yellow rose. Now, a yellow rose in Victorian times meant friendship. You know, there is a language of flowers, isn't there? And a yellow rose, if you were given a yellow rose, it indicated friendship. And that's innocent, isn't it? An innocent friendship. When the seat of Bina, according to Crowley, creates monsters, what happens with that friendship? Well, it's really highlighted in this dramatisation, you know, these pure innocents who believed that Jimmy Savile was a friendly person with his Jim will fix it programs. I'm not going to go too far into this, so don't worry. But what he did to these children, boys, girls, and even corpses, yes, the man was a monster, changed their lives forever. This man seemed to believe that all the good things that he did, and he did a lot of good things, so he raised a lot of money for charity. He was friends with royalty, with celebrity. He was very well known in this country. But if you look at the background to this card and the darkness here, which I believe to be indicative of Binah, the womb of chaos, there's a dark, dark, dark element. So by piercing this illusion, absolute illusion of friendship, and seeing underneath the darkness, the sword of truth, if you think about it in that way, has broken open and shown the world now exactly how awful this person was. The broken pinwheels here, well, they show disjointed thinking, and in that dramatisation, it would seem that he thought all the good deeds that he did would outweigh his bad behaviour. Bad behaviour, that's a mild way of putting it. But he seemed to believe that it balanced the scales for him, that, you know, the good deeds that he did balanced the bad things that he was doing. He was very disjointed thinking. There are 16 petals on this rose that has been broken apart. 16 is the tower. 3 of these have fallen away, and 13, you know, it would leave 13, and 13 is the death card. So this is talking about endings, beginnings, destruction, which is going to bring a changed perspective. But it brought about the death of innocence, didn't it? The innocent child, which we see, you know, this naked figure dancing here, reminds me of an innocent child that's protected here by the boundaries of Saturn. But those boundaries have been shattered. That heart has been shattered. And the truth of what the world is really all about has changed them forever. Saturn can talk about discipline, but that discipline again shattered. This person could not control themselves and shattered the illusions of those pure innocent people. These people who began open-hearted, heart wide open, open to being wounded. And victims tend to blame themselves, you know, and that restricts them, that brings their world, that closes their world down, you know, this Saturn, the closing down, the restrictiveness of Saturn. Their innocence has been betrayed and they'll never see the world in the same way again. You know, the youngsters believe that, I don't know, we start off believing that, like Venus, love is beauty and sex is beauty. That when a monster comes along and deflowers us, is the word that comes to mind. It's an old-fashioned term, but what it means is taking our virginity. So to be deflowered, this is going to leave lifelong scars, isn't it? Lifelong scars. Our innocence has been betrayed. The naked dancer is no longer protected. Saturn's limits have been shattered. Now they have a new insight and a new understanding that can't be revoked. Experience has taught them life isn't what they thought it would be. Life isn't safe. And their identity has been challenged. And also, you know, the identity of the abuser. What came forward as a friendly face, as a friendly person, that identity is shattered. Also, what's been happening in the past few days is the situation in Israel. And to see those poor young people who had gone, you know, to a concert, running away terrified, being shot at. Well, again, innocence lost. What I thought was quite touching, there was a young girl interviewed by the media on the news. The interviewer asked her, "Do you want revenge?" And she said, "No, I just want peace." It was really touching. Right, I'm going to put the top light on because I've got a feeling it might help a little bit here. Okay. This really is a downer of a card, isn't it? It really is. Okay, so let's look at the Rider-Waite-Smith image a little bit here. And we've got some really heavy rain clouds here, rain falling down and 3 swords in a heart, which is what we usually are used to seeing in the 3 of Swords. The air is the connection to mind and communication, and the swords that can be used as weapons, can't they, to pierce the heart, to pierce the emotions. So that's where we get our usual meaning from, of being betrayed. When you think about 3 as being the number of creativity, and maybe think about swords as words because it's communication, you put those 2 together and we've got creative words. And what are creative words? Well, they're stories, aren't they? They're fiction. And that could relate to the gossip aspect of this card. So maybe a situation, you told somebody something. Okay, so you told this person something. They told that person what you told them. And then they told you what this person told them. And it comes back to you as something completely different. You know, like Chinese whispers. That can indicate miscommunication, is what I'm saying. So this is miscommunication then that can really hurt. You know, that's not what I said. That's what you heard. It's not what I actually said. And I think that happens quite a lot, actually. Let's have a look at a few different cards. Brought a little selection out just to show some various ways of looking at this card. So if we look at my beloved Osho, and for this we have, let me find it, isolation. And here you can see we're frozen. We can't move. Even the tears are freezing on the face there, aren't they? They get stuck in the mind. And they can't move. They can't get past what's happened. That change, that tower moment is just too much to bear. Too much to bear. Let's have a quick look what it says in the book. I don't really use the book that much, because I think these cards are so good, they actually explain themselves. In our society, men in particular have been taught not to cry. Because remember, I'm not just talking about women here, I'm talking about innocence. And this is when innocence is shattered, and you can see the shatter here, I think. So in our society, men in particular have been taught not to cry, to put a brave face on things when they get hurt and not show that they are in pain. But women can fall into this trap too, and all of us at one time or another might feel that the only way to survive is to close off our feelings and emotions so we can't be hurt again. If our pain is particularly deep, we might even try to hide it from ourselves, so going into denial. This can make us frozen rigid because deep down we know that one small break in the ice will free the hurt to start circulating through us again. So yeah, that's the consequence of not being able to move through that pain. And here we see in the Urban Tarot, this is not easy. Like I say, I think it's the most difficult card I've ever had to come to terms with. But this is what can happen. Suicide. This card depicts suicide. When it's just so too much, you can't carry on anymore. And abuse victims often do commit suicide. So look at Trionfi Della Luna. Patrick Valenza has a real way of showing emotions in his cards, I think. Three of Swords. Okay, there we go. We're holding our heart wide open here, exposed. That heart is totally exposed. And the danger in exposing ourselves and in allowing Saturn's limits to expand, this is what could happen. So that's Trionfi Della Luna, the illustrated Pips edition, Patrick Valenza. I wanted to take a look at the True Heart Tarot because I think that one actually illustrates the fact that the change, you know, now the heart's eye is wide open. There's no illusion there. We've seen exactly what the world is all about. It's not what we thought. It's not that lovely Empress energy. You know, 3 is the Empress in the tarot. So it's not that lovely Empress energy of beauty and sex being love. No. No. This is reality. And what we've seen and what we've come to understand has changed us forever. On a lighter note, there is a lighter note to all this. Interestingly enough, you might have noticed in the past few videos I've got a really bad cold, and I bought a book and a deck, which I actually haven't opened the deck yet, but I was taking a look at the book. This is the Alchemy of Tarot. It's a Schiffer book by Lizina. I'm probably merging that. But it talks about Saturn in here, in health. So Saturn, in health-wise, part of it, illness is caused by cold. I thought that was quite apt, actually, because a lot of us at the moment have got this horrible cold that's going around. It's not COVID, it's somewhere between the flu and a cold, and it's been really nasty. So I was thinking about that as an invasion as well, actually invading our boundary, as in invading the body, a virus that's coming in and invading my chest because of a terrible cough. And it's about to rain as well, actually, outside, which is why it's so dark. But yeah, it's really warm at the moment, and so yeah, we've got this virus that's hitting all of us, and the body's reaction to that is to create antibodies so that if the same virus comes back again, the body knows how to deal with it. You know, that's how vaccines are supposed to work, isn't it? And so that sort of trauma changes us, doesn't it? It changes our body. And that body now remembers that trauma, will always remember that trauma in order to protect itself. So if we've got Saturn again protecting itself from, you know, that same virus coming back again, and knowing how to deal with that trauma. So I thought that was really apt as well. And on a sadder note, about half an hour ago I had a message from a friend to say that her sister died today. So it's been a really trying 10 days, this one. It's one I really have not enjoyed at all. The Light Seer's Tarot, I think, gives one of the strongest depictions. This is the tin version of the Three of Swords, which is here, and the agony in the face there. Now that heart has been ripped open, trying to keep it together, trying desperately to keep it together there. But the agony and the pain is just so evident in that screaming face there, that just cannot cope with what's happened. And in the Urban Tarot, the consequence of not being able to cope is evident. A lot of the time this is seen to be about heartbreak in a romantic situation. So if we look at the Tarot of Oneness, this is looking at tarot from your own viewpoint here. Then what I thought was really interesting with this one is its association that it's been made to the Lovers card. So this is the Three of Swords, and then we've got two versions of the Lovers, male and female. So in the Lovers cards, basically you can see the connection being from the heart to you, whether this is a male or a female. It's both are depicted here, so you can decide which one. But that's, anyway, what I saw here was the connection. So here the heart, the innocent heart here, is open, it's glowing, it's there to receive, to give, to receive. You know, we've got this shape here that reminds us that it's a two-way process. Beautiful. And with all the best intentions here, all light, and there's corruption here. It just feels like corruption. This heart that's been freely given here is now shattered, totally shattered. The heart space is just a hole. So sad. This is such a sad, 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 sad card. In the Unfolding Path Tarot, which is this one, this is the mass market version. It shows here how the mind, I like this version actually, because it's actually not their physical heart, it's a heart on a nightshirt. And this sort of tells me that, you know, the way the head is being held here, is that we're going round and round in circles here. The heartbreak is actually in the past, but we're still wearing it. Going forward, we can't let go. We're still holding on to this hurt, and it's going round and round in our head and causing such mental anguish, which is what we see, I think, in a lot of these cards, that mental anguish. And with the Urban Tarot, that just takes it to the limit. So it does show that it's actually happening in the mind now. And much as we've tried to patch up the heart, like we did in the Light Seer's Tarot, trying to like hold it all together, patch it back up together, maybe that's the only way that we can actually integrate this new knowledge. Sorry, back out again. But maybe that is the only way we can move forward and integrate this new knowledge, because victim mentality will not serve us. So we need to find a way to get through this, to find a way to actually open our heart up again to real love, not the illusion of love that our innocence thought it was. We were totally mistaken. The other indication I've come across for this card is to do with Father Time, to do with Saturn being the limiter of time, and the fact that we only have a limited amount of time on this earth, and that this sea of being is when we go back into the sea of consciousness, or, you know, back into wherever we came from and wherever we return to. So that was another way of looking at that card that I haven't really explored. I think I've gone far enough with it as it is, because it's been traumatic. Let's see how Shungite can help us. So this is the Crystal Magic Tarot, Kerry Ward and Claire Gregory. And see what we can... So, okay, so we've got Sapphire, as I said, for justice. We've got Turquoise for the world. And then a Shungite for the Three of Swords. And again, we've got that heart with 3 swords piercing it. So I'm interested to see what the advice is with Shungite. Okay, so what does it say? It says Shungite is a master purifier. So if your energy, surroundings or attitude need a major cleanse, or if you need ridding of some bad vibes, this is the crystal you should procure for your arsenal. Pure natural Shungite has been used in Russia for many years as a water purifier. So strong are its cleansing capabilities. It says don't try this at home, as not all Shungite on the market is pure and it may be toxic. Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? I'm thinking about toxic behaviour here. Wow. Okay, that's brought me up short. I was just thinking about the toxicity that I've been talking about. Anyway, the Shungite itself can be toxic if it's not the pure stuff. Okay. If you find your mojo is being drained by something or someone, let the Shungite detoxify and protect you from these energy vampires. Okay. So that's the Crystal Magic Tarot. Anyway, I am so glad I have finished with this card and can move on to the next one. I'm probably not the only one who's got a history that pertains to this card's energy. I think anyone who ever lived has come across this energy at some point or another. I could tell you I'll tell you a funny story, which isn't funny really, but the very first loss of innocence. The rest were really quite nasty, but the first one, okay. When I was at school, there was a young boy, and I was young, very young, and he told me that there was no such thing as Father Christmas. And I didn't believe him. I was distraught. I thought, how can you say that? There's no Father Christmas. So I went home and I said to Mum, Mum, I won't say his name, although it's quite a common name, but I won't say his name, told me there's no Father Christmas. And I was fully expecting my mother to turn around and say, don't be so silly, of course there is. But she went, well, actually, that was my first stage of growing up, I would say. You know, the first loss of innocence. Then actually realising that Father Christmas was actually my dad in a Santa suit. Anyway, let's end there, because this has been a very taxing and very trying Decan card. And yeah, I hope it doesn't come up for you too often. And if you have been a victim of trauma, then from my heart to your heart, please know there's good out there in the world. Namaste.